Welcome back to State of the Association. As always, I am your host, Nash Roberts. I was a little bit rushed for time today, but I did want to recap week 2 of the NFL season. I'm going to go over Monday Night Football tomorrow night, and I'm also going to go over some NBA news as well. But I just want to get an episode out here for the Sunday games, for the Thursday games, whatever it might be. And once again, I was a little bit rushed for time, but I tried to get as much in as possible, tried to have some thought-provoking conversations. The most shocking game for me this week, and the one I really want to start off with, is the fact that the Saints not only beat the Dallas Cowboys, but completely dominated them throughout the entire game. Now, the Saints, they did really good last week, too. They scored, I believe, 47 points, won by 37 against the Carolina Panthers. But the Panthers, the thing about them, the Panthers are going to be the Panthers. They don't have much of expectations coming into the year, and even throughout the year, that's not going to change much. For the Dallas Cowboys, though, that's different because if you listen to a Dallas Cowboys fan every year, they're going to say, hey, this is our year. We're winning Super Bowl. And is that going to happen? Probably not. But they've got the media expectations. They've got the postseason expectations. And also, even if they don't reach those playoff expectations, the Dallas Cowboys have always been really good in their regular season. And they haven't lost at their home stadium in 2 years, ever since 2022. They're on a 16-game win streak, and they lost last night against the New Orleans Saints. Alvin Kamara is turning back time. He looks nothing like he did last year. He looks like his old self, and that's great to see. Derek Carr is having a really good time as the Saints QB right now. He had a good stretch at the end of last year, and a lot of people questioned, hey, he's not going to be able to replicate this. Why stick with him? Why not try to find an upgrade? When Derek Carr, throughout the first half of the season, he was pretty mediocre, and he only started doing real good towards the back half. But now he's continuing that play. Derek Carr has been really, really good for them. Rashid Shaheed has been amazing the past couple weeks as a returner and receiver. Chris Olave, he's very solid as well. And the defense is picking up the slack as well. So the Saints, as the team is currently playing, the sky is the limit if you just beat the Dallas Cowboys. Not just beat the Dallas Cowboys, blew them out by 25 points, 44-19. The sky is the limit for the Saints team based off how they're playing right now. Do I think that's going to continue? No, because this level of success, that's an all-time team right there, and I don't think the Saints team is that. But I could very well see them make the playoffs with this current trajectory. And I think it's going to be a tough division because they got the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Atlanta Falcons in there. But I think they can no doubt make the playoffs and maybe make some noise in there just based off how they've played. I'm really excited to watch the Saints. I kind of talked about how the Panthers, they're always going to be the Panthers. They don't really have much of a direction right now. They're just going to be stuck being a bottom-tier team once again. And news just came out that they're going to be benching Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. And I just don't think the move gets you anywhere because, yes, Bryce Young hasn't been very good, but that's the guy that we're trying to develop. He had a bad rookie year, and he hasn't had a great start to this year either. It's arguably been even worse. But this is a guy that, if we're throwing into the Wolves, we're committed to that because we think it's best for his development. But now you're going to sit him behind Andy Dalton, who's a bridge QB at this point in his career. He's not going to get you anywhere himself, and it just serves you no good because you're not going to win with Andy Dalton, and you're not going to. If you're going to sit Bryce Young, sit him his rookie year and have him start this year, it makes no sense to me to decide now, hey, we're going to bench Bryce Young and we're going to let him sit behind and learn from Andy Dalton. It's too late for that. At this point, you've thrown him to the Wolves. Bryce Young, his confidence is shot now. So now, at this point, you just have to let him play. Now, are the results of that going to be very good? Possibly not. But you're not looking to win games. You're just looking to develop your young first overall quarterback. That's all you need to do if you're the Carolina Panthers, and they're struggling to even do that right now. So I don't understand the move at all from the Panthers' perspective. And out of their division, they're the only ones that I can't see at all make the playoffs, and I think they'll be a bottom-tier team once again, no doubt. With moves like this, also, I would understand if Andy Dalton was able to get you some wins this year, but I don't think he's even going to be able to do that. He's not one of the higher-tier backups at this point in his career. So this move is not just lateral, it's a backwards move. It keeps you in below mediocrity, and you're not letting your young QB get out on the field and gain some reps, gain some experience, and you can't just use the excuse of we're sitting him because you're already with his full rookie year and the start of this year. So it makes zero sense to me for the Carolina Panthers to bench talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My last segment about Baker Mayfield did actually really well, over 630 listeners and counting. And I've just, all the comments were like, hey, we love Baker, and we agree. The Browns shouldn't have moved on from him in the first place. So it's just great to see the support that he has. But I do want to talk about Tampa once again. They went into Ford Field and beat the Detroit Lions, and that is a rough crowd to play against, and they got it done, 20-16. I said the Saints are serious. I think the Bucs are serious this year too, and I would argue I trust the Bucs a little bit more because the Saints, we haven't seen this from them as much as we've seen it from the Bucs. We saw it in the playoff run for the Bucs last year. They decimated the Philadelphia Eagles in the first round, so I trust the Bucs a little bit more, but I think both these teams are going to be really, really good this year. And it's just a huge turnaround for that division, from being a laughingstock when I believe with Tom Brady's last year, the Bucs made the playoffs with a losing record, to now having three teams that I think could very well make the playoffs. But the Tampa Bay Bucs, I just want to focus on in particular. Mike Evans didn't even have that great a game. Baker Mayfield didn't live up to what he did last week, but they didn't need to because this team is so well-rounded. They've got a good defense. They've got great supporting cast on offense, great weapons. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rashad White's a very good receiving back, even if he's not a great rusher. And their rookie had some flashes. He's had some flashes of being a really solid runner. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think, are just really good all around. And I'm not the biggest Todd Bowles fan. I think sometimes he doesn't make the best decisions. But if there's one thing he's a good defensive mind, so he's going to have that defense working overtime. And Antoine Winfield, he was out this game. But looking at the box score, you wouldn't notice it. 2016 against a potent passing attack with the Detroit Lions, and really a potent offense in general. And you really didn't miss Antoine Winfield that much. Obviously, he's going to impact the game, but you were still able to go into Detroit and beat the Lions, a top NFC team. For the next part, I don't want to single out Caleb Williams. I just think he's a very good example of a case of overhyping prospects, because Caleb Williams, he's a rookie quarterback, came in with a first overall pick, so that team isn't in the best situation, even if they did trade for that pick. But in general, the Chicago Bears weren't that good of a team anyways. So he comes into a not great situation in terms of culture, but he does have some very good weapons around him in terms of wide receivers. And even running back, on paper, look good. DeAndre Swift had a real good year for Philly last year, although he hasn't lived up to that in Chicago. But the expectations for Caleb Williams, because of the weapons he had, despite the Bears losing culture, the expectations were very high, and he was deemed as a generational prospect, the best prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck. And he has not lived up to that. He's not thrown a touchdown pass in either of his two games. And I believe the Bears have only had a single offensive touchdown throughout the year already. And I don't want to knock Caleb for that too much, because guess what? This guy's a rookie quarterback. He's just now adjusting to the league. It's going to take time for him to become a really, really good quarterback, because the great seasons we see from a guy like C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, Baker Mayfield, those are major, major outliers. Most of the time, rookie quarterbacks don't perform all that well, and that's why I think giving them huge expectations with a label like generational prospect, it's only going to set them up for failure. And guys like Wemby, going over to the NBA, those are also major outliers, because guess what? He actually lived up to the hype. And I, for one, was not huge on Wemby going into his rookie year, just because I thought no matter what he did, he wasn't going to be able to live up to the expectations that people had for him. And he did, so credit to him. But most guys aren't going to do that. Most guys you consider a generational prospect, it's still going to take them some time to learn the game. They're not going to go in and instantly be throwing for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns to no picks. There's a major, major learning curve, or else otherwise, why wouldn't we all go pro, right? So I think calling Caleb Williams a generational prospect, I understand it. But truthfully, I wasn't super impressed by what I saw with him at USC. Now, was he great there? Yes. But a lot of the time, he kind of played hero ball, and it was to varying success, USC, sometimes they won, sometimes they didn't. They were kind of a middling team in terms of record. So And he didn't have the best O-line there, and he doesn't have the best O-line for Chicago now, so I think that is a part of it. But talking about him playing hero ball over at USC, the thing with that is, now that he gets into the NFL, that doesn't work out. And credit to him, from everything the announcers have said, from what I've seen from Caleb personally, he's trying to do that less. He's trying to be more of a traditional quarterback and run the offense. And credit to him for that. But once again, that takes a learning curve. So he's not instantly going to go from being this hero ball player to an elite field general. So I think we need to give him time to develop. And calling him a generational prospect is only going to set him up for below expectations in terms of play. Even if he's a solid rookie quarterback, we've seen worse performances from Bo Nix up to this point. Or, I don't know. If you watch the games, at least, Bo Nix, he doesn't look as good as the stats say because he threw for 250 yards. He had no touchdowns, but he had 250 yards. But if you watch the games, he doesn't look very comfortable. So I would say Caleb has been better because he at least looks more comfortable in the offense. But overall, once again, I think you set the expectations too high, and Caleb will be fine in the long run. But let's not overreact, because I think that can very much happen. I've seen it in the NFL Instagram comments, and Instagram comments aren't the best place to be anyways in terms of overreactions, right? Because all of it's just so reactionary. But let's not overreact about Caleb. Let's let him have time and work things out, and he will be fine in the long run. We just set the expectations too high with calling him a generational prospect. There's only a select few guys that can come into the league and dominate, and he's not one, and that is okay. I will be back tomorrow. Thank you for listening. It has been the State of the Association. I am your host, Nash Roberts.